Everyone, it's Christy with Crafted by Christy. Thanks for joining me today. We're going to make the Ultimate Envelope Journal. This was inspired by Natasa with Treasure Books. She has a very, very good step-by-step tutorial that I'm going to link below because she has an excellent way of explaining things. I made 2 of them, and we're going to make another one today, each step. When I was making the bigger ones, I had enough offcuts to make a baby one, which my thinking of this one was it would be so good to take it with you to the store with your list, your to-dos. This is a pen holder that was not in the tutorial. It's just something I like to make and add to my stuff because I usually don't have a pen around. And when I was making this baby, this was my intent to do the tutorial for the baby one, but I realized the envelope I had found, this is a 6x9. These are 9x12. I only could find this one, and it's really just too damaged. I had to cut off part of the lip because it was torn. I mean, it's a used envelope, obviously, and I had inked or marked over the addresses and stuff, but realized it still showed inside, and I didn't like that, so I thought I would just keep this one for myself. It's just like the big one. It has the first journal is a flip, and it has a waterfall flip. The bigger ones have a pocket here, and I'll show you those. It has 3 envelopes. I figured that would be so good to put my receipts in and, you know, whatever that I, do during the day that I'll usually shove in the cubbyhole of my car. And then the back has another little journal, and it sits right in there. And let me show you the bigger ones. First one I really think I added too much of the enclosure cord, and I don't know, I may cut it down because it doesn't have a big seam. It's not meant to. It's an envelope. It's meant to stay flatter, thinner. And I left the cord thinking like all of my other journals, I add so much stuff and they bulk up, you would have a lot of room to do that, but I don't think you really need that in this one. Like I said, it's not meant to be real thick. Sorry, I left my glue out and it made a little dollop. Okay, so you open it up, and again, you have your first journal. So you open that up, and you have your waterfall journal. Flips up. There's a pocket here on Natasha's. She had 1 pocket. I don't know, I don't have any quittances, so I made 2 pockets. You could put however many you want. You could layer pockets. And then there are, let's see, 3 envelopes that are hinged together with washi tape. The back has 3 pockets. I've sewn those together. And then the very back has another journal sitting in it. Goes back in, flips over, down, and just like that, this one's closed. And I have a pin holder for this one too, but I'm in the gluing process of it, so it's clipped together right now. See? He's clipped together getting the glue set on him. The second one I made, and some more tea-dyed stencil paper, and I decided to use some different color ink papers, which I think turned out pretty. And then you have the waterfall, 2 pockets again. Then you have 3 envelopes. You can have any size envelope. You don't even have to have you can make your own envelopes, because I didn't have one that was the off color white. All I had was white, and I really wanted this antiqued color, so I made this one out of a file folder. You can make them out of anything. Scrapbook paper. I ink dyed some that were just scrap mail that will work. You can cut them down. I also made one out of some eco-dyed paper that I had done, and I inked it as well, but I decided I didn't like it after I'd done it for this journal, so I didn't use it. But it's, again, just a homemade envelope. You can make them any size that you want to fit in here. Where I was going with that was you don't have to have new envelopes to do this. You can use anything. I have 3 pockets again, and I made this little journal out of wallpaper, and I ink colored it, watercolored it, and I used watercolor. Oh, well, I'm sorry, I inked these pages, just dripped it on there, some ink dye, and during the process of dyeing it, this paper is not real thick, so it tore. And I don't know if you've ever gotten a book from the library that's older, but they try to tape them, and when they do, the tape starts getting dingy looking, and it kind of looks like this to me. So what I did to fix it, I took some pattern paper like this that you would sew with, and just glued it on there with I actually used a glue stick. It turned out better than using my art glitter glue, because the art glitter glue kind of showed through, and the glue stick, at least it keeps it smooth, looking more like tape. And I loved how it turned out, so I went ahead and put it in this book. Set it back in here. Close our envelopes, our waterfall, and our first journal. And that is what we're going to make today. And I love these. I love how they turned out. I think they're a lot of fun, very interactive, and very beginner friendly in my opinion. So today I picked out some papers that I don't know if they're going to go together or not, but we're going to give it a whirl. And just some things this washi tape was gifted to me, so I just picked out some of it I thought might work. I don't even know how much is on here, so hopefully we have enough. And some little retro looking stickers as the scrapbook paper I want to use. It's a little busy, but I liked it. I think that we can make it look really cool. It's popsicles with summer coming up. I just think it's fitting. Now the back of this, hurts my eyes. So I probably won't use this anywhere except on maybe the flap. So because I didn't really have anything to go with this, created some out of watercolors. And you don't even have to have scrapbook paper. You, like I say, do watercolors. And we'll make this, will probably be something we put maybe on our book plate or whatever to go on the front. I don't know. We'll figure this out. And not only did I have this popsicle paper, I got this at the secondhand shop. This was in the big basket, huge crate that was like $7.25 for I don't even know how much of this stuff. But I have these popsicle charms too, and I don't think they're going to match. But, you know, it's funny when you start things like this, you just pull out all sorts of things, and I don't know, seems like things I don't think will work end up looking really, really good. So I have some of these. I think they're too bright, but who knows? Once we get our cover on, and we may end up using this. I also have some popsicle sticks that I think we're gonna probably emboss some of them and make a little charm out of that too. But we'll keep the theme going, and we'll see where we come up with. So our first step is we have a 9x12 envelope, and I intentionally this time got some that do not have the clasp. A lot of times these will have that little metal clasp. The other two that I had did have those because they, again, were used. And one of them I was able to get it out because they kind of fold like a, not really a brad, maybe an eyelet on the back. I was able to get one of them out. One of them I couldn't, so I had to cut it out, and then I reinforced it with chipboard. And that's a little much work. So if you can find one that doesn't have that, it's best. But if it does, we can always fix that too. Like I said, just put chipboard across it. That will strengthen for when you make your hole for the enclosure, if that's how you decide to make your enclosure. So we're going to fold this. Our first step, we're going to fold this in half, but not all the way in half. We're going to leave maybe not quite, probably 1/4 of an inch here, because when you start adding things, it's going to bulk a little bit, and we don't want it to be hard to close. So we're going to fold it about right there. And as we go along, you'll want to burnish everything real good to keep it as flat and trimline as we can. I think I like it that way, I guess. Our first little journal that we're going to washi tape to the side, I think that's called, what is that called? Hinging. So I just picked out some, well, actually, this one was one of my watercolor papers. I have a tea dyed. This one is a ink dyed. Another watercolor. See, and they're different colors, but I think that it's going to work just fine. And this is another ink dyed that I thought had interesting patterns on it. So I have different size papers because that's kind of what I like, the scrappy look, but you can have all the same. And my first one, the first one that I showed you, all the papers in this one are the same size, the same kind, and it's just as beautiful as the one with the different. To me, I like all kinds. So these are all the same. You can do this however you choose. It's going to hinge right here to the front. So we want to make sure when we hinge it, hold it up to the edge and make sure that there's some space for the closing. And when we add things, we don't want it to hit the side of your paper and start rolling it up. So I've already trimmed this one down. We're just going to bind it, and you can bind it with, staple it. You can, I'm going to use wax thread on this one and do a 3-hole punch. I believe Natasa on hers did a 5-hole. There's 5 sheets, so 20 writing spaces. So I'm not going to make a template to do my holes with. I think we can eyeball it and come up really close to being exact. So I'm just going to, again, I keep wanting to make everything is so pressed down. Not really sure why. On one of these, I used wax thread. On one of them, I used embroidery thread that I had waxed. That one turned out really pretty. I'm thinking about using maybe some embroidery thread just to give this one some color, because we've got so many colors anyway. I think going along with that would be nice. Here are my embroidery threads. I want something that's a little bit subdued because our colors are kind of not bright and flashy. So I wonder about something like this. Does that look too bright? I think that'll work. Let's do this one. And this, I think, has 6 strands, so it'll be thick enough. We can wax it. If you have beeswax, you could always, I have one of these little things that you just run your thread through, and it waxes it. See how much thread we need. I usually don't cut my thread, so I'm not used to really having a measure. I don't want to cut it too short. I'm not very good at, I think I'll do 3 lengths just to make sure I have enough. Cut it right here. And the reason I'm cutting it is because I'm going to wax it, and I kind of need to know where to stop, I guess. So I'm going to run this through the waxing thing. It doesn't have to be great or really waxed as much as your normal wax thread that you buy. I think it just helps a little bit to keep it. It's easier definitely to use and maneuver when it's got wax on it through the papers, I think. So that's good enough. I'm going to choose a smaller needle because I don't want the holes to be really big in our paper since our book isn't very big. So let's go right through the middle. I'm just eyeballing it and kind of fold it. When you put your awl through, fold your paper down. That way you'll make sure and get in the seam. If you hold it open, it kind of wants to go off to the side. So in the middle, I'll go to the bottom and punch a hole. I'm trying to keep in mind that I have shorter papers and I want to be sure and catch those good. So I'm coming up a little bit higher than I normally would. And the last, we're going to do the top. Like that. Usually if it's a thicker book, I'll leave my awl in to hold the holes in place, but I don't really need to do that with this being 5 sheets. So I start in the center, I'm sorry, from the inside, because I want my knot to be on the inside. And we need that on this one because the back is going to be washi taped anyway, so you're not going to see if you put it on the outside. You want it to be on the inside this time. So we go through the middle, go up, back in through the bottom or the top, whichever way you like to do it. Doesn't matter which way you go for me. Pull it all the way through, making sure it's not too tight. Then we're going to go back out through the top. This last step is my hardest for me. We're going to go back through the middle, so I pull this over to the side so that I can hopefully not split my thread when I go back through. You don't want to catch that other thread. And then pull through, and when you pull through, doesn't really matter which side you're on when you pull through, but after you pull it through, you want to make sure that your outside is tight, not too tight, because you want it to be able to lay flat. If you pull it too tight, it'll start pulling itself up this way. But you want one string on each side of the middle string to tie your knot. And we're just going to do a knot. And another thing, the waxed thread helps. It seems like it stays tied better. And then we're going to do an S-shaped tie. I saw on one of Natasha's videos. I thought this was cool. So you do an S shape, put one underneath the middle, going to the left, the bottom one going to the left, the top one going to the right, underneath the middle string. And then you'll take this and put it back through the loop. See, at this point, though, you have your S. And then you take your one on the right and run it back through the loop. Take the one on the left, run it back through the loop. And then you'll take both of those tails and pull them towards the... Well, here's a handy little reminder that when you delete videos off of your phone, make sure you delete them out of the trash too, because if not, all your storage gets eat up, and then your camera your video will shut off right in the middle and you miss part of it. So we left off, I was binding this, and you pull both to opposite ways and it makes your knots lay side by side. And then what I did was just tied a little bow. And you got to miss the whole shenanigans of me putting this, instead of on the end of the envelope where it's supposed to be, very end, I put her right in the middle where it wasn't supposed to be, so I had to redo all of that. So you missed all that, so that's lucky, huh? Now we are going to washi tape our envelopes. And at this stage, if you want your envelopes inked, I think it's easier to do them now, because once they're bound in, it seems like myself, I just get it all over everything. I'm not going to ink very heavy, but I do want to put a little bit of color on the edge of these envelopes. And I've just chosen some that I had in my stash from secondhand shops and things like that. I highly, like I said, I wouldn't recommend buying any, because worst case, you can just make, it's not even worst case, but you can always just make them yourself. And I've just chose some different colors here, since this journal is going to be many colors anyway. I don't think it really matters what color these envelopes are. And I normally don't like this stark white. I may end up putting something over that, but it doesn't bother me so bad in this one, because the watercolor paper that I done, you know, it still shows some white. So I think all of the colors are going to come together in this one, and it's going to look great. I don't think even this inking is really necessary. I'm just adding another little dimension maybe. So you want to start with whichever envelope you want to be your middle, and I want the yellow one to be my middle. So we're going to put it right in the center of where our crease is, and I'm going to try to center it vertical as well. And I'm going to set something on this to try to hold it still, but I also know that it won't work. I always end up moving it somehow, because I think you could probably park a car on it and I would still find a way to gum it up. So I'm going to try to find here's my washi tape. Alright, so I'm going to take my art glitter glue and I'm going to run it right down the middle, a little on both sides of the envelopes. Line up the top and put your washi tape as close in the middle of both envelopes as you can. And I just like to take my little block and lay it on the edge and then tear it. That way it gives it a nice clean tear. And varnish it down. And that little block is just a stamp block, like you put your stamps onto your rubber stamps. I go right down the middle. Fold this over. Make sure I'm in the bend of it good. And believe it or not, it actually is, so that's good. Alright, so we're going to do the same to the other side. I am not going to have enough to do this whole thing, and that's okay. We're going to find some more. I'm not crazy about that one anyway. I don't think it's the washi. I think it might be the operator. I probably double check it way too much, but I like to make sure it bends right. Okay, so for our next one, you can do the either side, it doesn't matter. I'm just trying to figure out a tape that I think will look nice. Okay, so I found these three. I don't know, this one seems a little thin, so we'll get rid of that one. And I just wanted to see how these would look next to my, and they all have the same colors pretty much, so I think that we could win with any of them. Maybe I'll mix and match these two. I think that would look pretty good. To run the washi only on the shorter one because you don't want sticky on those. And leave a little bit of space. I said butt it right up next to that, but let's don't. Let's leave a little bit of space so that it folds nicely. Try to set something on it. Well, look, I set right on that piece of paper that had the glob of glue on it. Now I'll probably never get it off my stapler. Look at that. I figured I'd glue it to the book too. Luckily that fabric, oh, it made an imprint. Luckily it was dried enough that it was just made kind of like a little rubber seal. Now we need to make our waterfall. So how we're going to do this is I'm going to leave a little bit at the bottom because our pocket, we want it to show. So we're going to leave some space at the bottom. And we're going to mark it up here at the top. Just a little bit. Actually, I'm going to mark it even with the top. And then that's where you're going to do your first fold. Next I'll do maybe this blue one. I'm going to trim off the words though. This is a recycled piece of paper that I really try to use recycled paper. And I'm going to trim these words off because I hate throwing away paper that has just one little line on it. But then you're going to leave at the bottom however much width you want. I on mine was leaving anywhere from 1/2 to 3/4 of an inch, probably closer to 3/4. And then you just fold it under there, and where your seam is from your first one, just kind of like run my fingernail along there, and that's where your next bend is going to be. Then we're going to take our next sheet, probably go back to the tea dye. I like this one. See which side I want. I think I want the grungier side. Again, I'm going to leave as close to that amount of room as I can because I'm not measuring. I'm just trying to eyeball it. Just kind of try to go along that same seam we already have. Okay. And then we're going to even it up so that it fits in the center, and we want to leave some space on each side. So my bend is here. I'm probably going to go into about right here because I want to leave enough space so that when it bends, it doesn't catch my paper. Yes, much better. So we're going to bind, well, on Natasha's, she did the same. I don't know if she did a 3-hole pamphlet stitch or a 5, but I'm just going to actually staple mine because it's not very wide and this is pretty thin paper. And I don't have a gator mouth, but I have this. This top rotates 360, so you have all that room to run it through there without having one of the special ones. If you know what I'm saying. I'm not explaining it very good, but so I'm just going to staple this. Burnish this again. It's my favorite line in this tutorial, isn't it? Burnish this, burnish that. Okay. Then we're going to hinge it to the top. Okay, so now we're going to put our washi on the inside. So everything flips, flip-flaps, and turns like it's supposed to. So that's good. I love it so far. I hope you do too. I hope you're not thinking, what a mess have you made? But I really like it. Our next step is we're going to glue the inner cover panel, which is behind our waterfall. And I don't know that I've really decided which one I want to be the inner cover. Could put this watercolor sheet. What do you think about that? That'd be okay, wouldn't it? Get that very straight, did I? See, I am not good with scissors or a straight cutter. I'm not good with cutting at all. They used to say, well, get yourself a level. Well, it's not going to do me any good because I can't hold it or put it where it needs to be to show if it's level. I'm just very challenged when it comes to that. I'm not sure why. I think I'm going to do some stamping on this. So I'm going to go do that. I'm going to sew around it, and I will come back before I glue it down to show you what kind of a plate I have made for this. Surprise! I decided not to stamp, but I did take an acrylic marker and just squiggle around it. I don't know. I like it. Looks kind of retro-ish, I guess. Anyway, I sewed around it. We're going to put this in the middle. While I was doing that, I went ahead and cut my pieces for the back. And, well, you'll need 4 pieces total other than this one. So what? You need, that didn't even make no sense. Okay, so you need 1 for the front, 1 for the middle, front and back of this one, so that's 4, and then I guess I only needed 4 pieces, and I cut 5. I don't know. Lost my mind. No, I only cut 4. I guess that's just an extra piece. So I went ahead and cut those and sewed them, and I did mark them on the backs because I noticed on they're just a smidge difference, and I didn't want to accidentally glue one down and then realize the other one was just a bit bigger. And then I went ahead and made my second journal. I just used dotted paper. I used embroidery thread that I didn't wax this time, and I left it kind of fringy. I like that. Stamped the book, and this was one of the sheets that I watercolored and just put a little sweet treats on there. Can't decide if I like it or not. But I was thinking about putting maybe some brads here, but I want to keep it really flat because it stays in this little pocket and you don't want to add much bulk to it. But also, when I was doing this, I realized when I was cutting the pieces and such, that I did not like that pink washi. Well, it's not pink, but this washi, I wasn't crazy about it. So I noticed the offcuts that I had at the bottom of the pages. You know, they have these little strips. And so I cut those for each of this, each side, and just taped it over my washi and left the seam in there where it didn't, hopefully doesn't bulk it up too much. But I like this a lot better. So everywhere that there was this kind of washi, I replaced it with the striped. I don't know why. This striped kind of, when it was laying here, reminds me of a ice cream parlor. Or maybe it's a barber shop. I don't know. To be honest, what it really reminds me of is, I don't know, I'm probably showing my age here, but when I was a kid at the hospitals, they had candy stripers, and they wore little aprons that were this color. So the next step is we're going to go ahead and put in our middle piece, glue it in, which is the watercolor sheet. And you just want to center it and leave a little bit of space at the bottom. You don't have to leave very much. You can actually go all the way to the bottom if you want, but I like to leave just a little piece at the bottom. I'm running out of room. My waterfall doesn't have anywhere to go. The candy striper kind of reminded me of my mom. We used to have to go to a hospital that was away from where I grew up. Where I grew up was just a little small town, and we had no hospital there. And the hospital we went to was in a much bigger town, city, whatever. And they had candy stripers. And I can remember we were waiting. And for whatever reason, I don't know why, I decided it would be a good idea to go look in the gift shop by myself and not tell my mom where I was going. But I did. And of course, you know, by the time she realized I was gone, they couldn't find me, and they had security guards and stuff looking for me, and I was in the gift shop buying Peanuts character figurines. Remember Peanuts? Charlie Brown, Lucy. I remember when she found me, the security guard found me, and they said, "You were lost." I said, "I wasn't lost. I knew where I was the whole time." My mom, she didn't know whether to be mad at me or hug me or laugh, cry. But now that I have kids of my own, I know how she felt. It's a scary thing. So that was not a good move. So we got the front or the middle down. I don't think it matters which from here that you do, but I'm going to go ahead and glue our back piece down. Make sure I get the right. I wish I'd quit picking that one up. It's not even part of this scenario. This is the inside, back. And I like to leave a little bit of room, again, on the edge of this envelope. So when you're cutting it, kind of keep that in mind, because you don't want it right up next to that fold. You need some space for when you add things. I put more glue in here, you'd never know it, but when I was doing that, I was excited because I realized I have a new one of these little ones that I refill all the time. And look, this one I've had for a long time. It just looks hideous, but you don't realize how bad it looks till you put a brand new one up next to it and realize, ooh, I can't wait till I get to use that. Kind of silly, huh? Getting all excited about a glue bottle. I don't think I even got that excited when I was in elementary school. Of course, in elementary school, we put glue all over our hands so that we could peel it off after it dried like a glove. That's pretty smart, I'm sure. I guess we were bored. I wonder where the teacher was while we were doing that. Now, normally, you're going to want to set, and I will do that. I mean, if it starts lifting a little bit, I'm going to set it under something for tonight anyway. But I think last time when I did it, kind of as I did a couple of the one side pieces, I would go put it under something heavy for a few hours, and then I would do the other side, same thing, just to help it seal, because there's so many folds and you don't want the edges to start lifting up. Oh, and another thing I did was I did put washi tape down the middle of the back, just to reinforce that. And then also I'm going to put it on the flap, the crease of the flap, to reinforce that, because those are the areas that are going to get a lot of folding back and forth, and we for sure want those to hold. Okay, so now we're going to flip it over and trim off these little ends. Now I'm going to put my flaps on. The inside flap, you want to put it as close to your little fold as you can. And the outside flap, we're going to leave a little room because we want, again, to be able to fold over what we have inside. I guess I'm just going to peel this sticky thing off. That'll just help me have more grip, won't it? This is the inside one. It's pretty bad when you mark your stuff and you don't remember what it meant. Oh no, forgot I put that. Well, luckily, I had it down there pretty even, huh? Would like to move that a little bit. It's just a circus watching this all the time. Now we're going to glue our back piece on. And again, let's leave a little bit of room. We'll go ahead and put our back piece. Everything's folding back and forth good, so that's wonderful. So we've done everything but the front, and we're going to glue it on now. Make sure I have this turned the right way. Okay. I tell you, I don't know, here again, I'm telling my age, but I don't know if you remember this or not, but there used to be a commercial on one of the luggage, I don't remember which one, and they did all these tests on it, and they beat and banged it around, and, you know, if it passed these tests, it would show how strong this particular luggage was. And I think that about my journals. If it makes it through me making it, it's sure going to stay together. I mean, because you've seen me burnish this stuff and scrub the glue down, and I mean, I'm not gentle with them. I want it to stay. So I'm thinking, if I don't tear it up while I'm doing all that, I'm just doing this one last time. before I go put it down, that it should hold. Definitely should hold. And that's some good scrapbook paper too that can put up with all this nonsense. Alright, so I'm going to put this under something for a while. I'm going to work on what my cover is going to look like. Because again, I still think I want to just cut out, you know, rough tear out this section. I don't know what else I can do with it. I may not need to do much. I mean, because it's pretty busy. It's got a lot happening, a lot going on. Maybe I'll just tear this out, ink around it, and then and maybe put a couple of these flowers, see what they look like on it. And then also, look, I even have glue on this thing. Also, I was thinking about maybe putting a eyelet on the front, maybe even in the seam. And hanging, you know, the charms from that. I don't want to make it very heavy, of course, but something to see if our popsicle charms are going to work or not. We'll come back and finish this up. We don't have much more. If that makes you feel any better, it's almost done. This painstaking journal making. Ooh, I rhymed. I can't do cutting. I can't the gluing, but I can make a rhyme. Okay, so we'll try to decide if one of these is gonna look good or not. It might, because look, it's gonna hang, if we hang it from the center, this candy stripe stuff kind of pulls it and makes it look more red. So we may end up using this after all. And I'm going to go ahead and run our popsicle sticks through the embosser and ink those up. And we'll hang a couple popsicle sticks and maybe this. We're almost done. The pain is almost over. I thank you for hanging in there with me if you're still here. If you're not, I totally understand. I'm going to go weight this puppy down. Hey everybody, I set this under a box and it's good and mashed down now. I'm not sure about this. I may have to mash it again, but all of this is real mashed down. It's not going to come loose. I did go ahead and add the pockets. I found some really old book page with this circus. It was about a circus story and had these seals. I thought it went good with this retro look. And I usually put a pocket here in the middle, but because I didn't want it to cover up the ice cream cone, I opted for one of these, the clear pockets. So there's still a pocket here. It's just clear, and the good thing about it is it's kind of that plasticky stuff, so that if you had sticky notes or something you could put them right on here and they would stay. And I think I went ahead and popped the little book in. I went ahead and put the brad on. I found some. There is a lady on Facebook. Her name is Cindy. I can't pronounce her last name or remember it correctly, so I'm just going to skip that part. But her name is Cindy. The name of her Facebook page is Lighthouse Stop and Shop. And she always sells laces and trims and a little bit of everything. And go check her shop out because she sells it really cheap. She used to be a teach scrapbooking and things like that. So she has lots of good, interesting things. And that's where I got these flowers from and this brad. And it says Imagine. Thought it was pretty and it matched good. So here's my cover piece. I tore it out. And I think I'm going to get a piece of file folder to back it with, because it's, you know, it's watercolor paper, so it's not very hefty, and I wanted it to feel a little stronger. So I'm going to tear it where it shows a little bit and ink the edge. I went ahead and made the flower, and I hung the popsicle charm and the popsicle. I made the popsicle sticks that I embossed, and then cut it down and shaped it so that it would be small. And I think it looks good. I think even though that's pink, I think the color of the flowers in the book kind of makes it draw a more maroonish reddish color. I am going to, when it's finished, I'm going to put a picture, there'll be a picture at the end of this video showing all three of them in their completed stage. And then once I get some smaller envelopes, the 6x9s, I'm going to create the small journal, take with you journal, and I will post them on my Etsy shop. But at the end of this video, I'm going to post a picture of the three big ones and show how this one was completed. But this video is already long enough, so I don't want to keep you any longer for me to do that. I did want to show you real quick some pieces that I found in a swap that I think this guest check will go good in one of these pockets. And I thought this was kind of retro looking. I don't know what Quizmo is. I'm assuming it's a form of bingo, maybe for learning. I have the little craft paper for writing. I usually put one of these newspaper looking craft papers. I fold it up and there's writing space on the back. But I thought these stickers might look good in here. The colors look really, really well. I might put a few in the clear pocket. And then also I wanted to show you just an idea on the little ones, because like I said, I have in my mind they'll be something you take with you on your to-do lists and things. But I found these grocery lists that I thought will be kind of neat. I'll put those in there. This is a menu list. So when I get these smaller ones done and they go up on the Etsy shop, of course I'll do a walkthrough to show you exactly what's in everything. But I envision that I'll put those things in there. And we'll have lots of fun goodies in this retro one, because the more I go through my Happy Mail, I'm finding a lot of pieces that will look good with this. Thank you for watching. Thank you for staying with me and hanging in there through this train wreck. And again, I'll post pictures of all three at the end of this video. If you liked it, please hit the like button and subscribe, and I will see you next time. Thanks again.